So in the Oscars, there's this Israeli reporter tells me like, how does it feel to be on the Israeli national team? I said, I'm not on the Israeli national team. He says, how come? This is an Israeli film because we received funding. And I said, yeah, but I am Palestinian and I cannot represent a country that doesn't represent me. And death threats, death letters to my parents. It was on the news every like, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, basically. Like this guy that we gave him everything, he's spitting in the plate that is feeding his mouth, in the hand that is feeding him. It was good that this happened because I couldn't take it anymore,
This premiered at the Venice Film Festival, okay? I'm sure at some point you had to send them a sort of a two-sentence description or three-sentence description. What's the three-sentence description of Happy Holidays?
I don't know. It was done by ChatGPT probably, but I can look it up. I'm really bad. I'm really bad in doing those things, and.
Hi, welcome to the This Is Not a Watermelon podcast. My name is Mikey Mhenna. Today on this series we have a filmmaker, Scandar Copti, who is also a professor of film at NYU Abu Dhabi. Scandar has released his second feature film, Happy Holidays, which premiered at the Venice Film Festival last year. For the record, we were recording this on March 25th, so this may come out in a few weeks, but just so you know, that's the world we live in when we're recording it. Scandar, welcome to the series.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Maybe let's start with some basics. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Jaffa. Went to a French school over there in a very small neighborhood. Yeah. I think it's one of the smallest neighborhood in Jaffa, which has a pretty fascinating history. It's called Ajami. And in 1948, when around 120,000 residents of Jaffa were kicked out or had to leave. So the Israeli militias, they gathered all those people that remained around Jaffa and in Jaffa, because Jaffa had 23 villages around it, to the south all the way to Yubna and up north to Sidna Ali, and they just gathered all those people. They fenced my neighborhood, Ajami, and just put people in random houses that were empty, made them sign almost like a contract, an agreement with the government that they may stay there for 3 generations. And that's it.
Literally, contractually, 3 generations?
Yes, for 3 generations, that's it. Now we're facing, we started facing the evacuations of the 3rd generation, I think, in the early 2005, 2006. We have 500 families that are threatened, or some are already evacuated. So it's a neighborhood that was fenced. It's really tiny. To walk it'll take you 10, 15 minutes.
So it's like a camp, essentially. A fenced-in place
it was fenced.
A fenced-in place where people live is essentially a camp.
Yes. So it was fenced with 5 gates. And my grandfather, who had a workshop, he was a carpenter, not far away from the French school where I studied. Back then, and after 48, until the martial law ended, he needed to have a special daily permit to go to work.
Wow.
So it's really a almost like a melting pot, this neighborhood, because these are not the original. Only 3,000 people stayed in Jaffa, and so it's a mixture of even dialects in Arabic, which is weird. We don't all speak the same Arabic.
Yeah. Kind of like Gaza, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. We're going to talk about your films, obviously, but I'm really curious about cultures of cities and cultures of places in Palestine, because they're so abstracted for so many people. Even somebody like me who grew up in Beirut, I'm so close, like breathing the same air, but I've never been to any of these places. What's the culture of Jaffa? Like when somebody says I'm from Jaffa, what actually comes with that?
Obviously the sea. We're a port city, 5,000 years old. Everything, all the stories that have to do with water, come from Jaffa. Most of them, even biblical stories, Yunan and the whale spitting him out. It was in Jaffa. So it's what we breathe and who we are, and everything. At least in my childhood, had to do with how the sea is. Like people would call. Back then we didn't have mobile phones, so people would call my parents' house. I'll be sleeping or something as a kid. They will ask my mom, because we live on the water. It's like, how's the sea? And she goes like, there's some waves on the right side, and then it dictates what we're going to do today. So say like, wake up, Scandar Copti, we go surfing. So this is my childhood, everything was related to the sea, even, running away from school. It's like, it's a good day to be surfing. And I come from a family that is half fishermen. So two of my uncles, basically lived all their life on the water, and two others, my dad and my other uncle, as a carpenter. So this is it, but at the same time, it's also very distinct, talking about other Palestinian cities. We have a very, very specific way of saying things, which are weird, We don't say siyara for a car, we say makina. Where does it come from? Yes, where does it come? And we say sheti, shetak, like mine, yours, which, I mean, anywhere in the world I will go, I will hear someone, even a refugee, even now with what's happening in Gaza, and I see people getting interviewed and say sheti, shetak. It's like, okay, this guy is from Jaffa.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah.
It's funny how the sea does that, right? Like, it's very, even in Lebanon, like, somebody, my dad grew up in Saida, and so much of the way he thinks about stuff is from the water,
Yes.
very clearly.
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit, almost chronologically, just because I find it so interesting. Let's talk a little bit about what you were doing before you made Ajami, and this like ushering into engineering school that and I'm curious how that education, the non-filmmaker education, influenced you and shaped the way you think about films.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it had something to do with my decision. And for me, it's a very, very specific event, that happened. I mean, I got into engineering only because I was looking for, I was really basically terrified. No, I was terrified. Yeah. I wanted to stay somehow in my comfort zone. I mean, this is what I wanted. Math, physics is my comfort zone. I mean, still, I'm very... It comes easy to me. But then I think towards the end of my studies, I started realizing pretty soon that I have nothing to do with this. But I said, okay, it's going to be the first thing I ever finish, because I always start things and never finish them. And then, on the last year, I just realized that, what I was doing there. And someone told me, like a professor, I had to leave for a wedding of my cousin, and I was working on this project for a professor, like a kind of an internship. And I said, like, listen, I have to go for a week. My cousin's getting married. I'm the best man. And he goes, okay. So yeah, but we have a deadline. So it's like, yeah, we'll just put someone else on it. And then I think that's it. I made a decision. I want to do something that has to do with me, my uniqueness, what I want to add, to the table, and not something that can be done by anything. Yeah. So I went and I started cooking for 3.5 years.
Really?
Yeah, I started as a waiter in a very fancy, very known fish restaurant in Jaffa.
Can we get the name? I'm curious.
Now it's called Babai, under the name of Abu Muhammad, Jihad Babai. That's the name of the guy. Originally they're Bukhariye.
Okay.
And then they came to Palestine, I think, in the 18th century, but they're completely Arabs, obviously. Back then it was called Souf, like Souf. Yeah. But it was super fancy with sommeliers and stuff. And I started as a waiter, then I moved into the kitchen. I did my first short film with nothing, basically, with a camera, another friend, and we acted, we did everything. Yeah. And then we started, Yaron and I met Yaron in a festival where this short film was screened, and then we started working on Ajami, and yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, insofar as you became a chef without...
Not a chef, a cook, someone that cuts cucumbers.
Okay, somebody who cuts cucumbers. But that approach, no, okay, khalas, I can do anything. I'm capable of doing anything. And no, if I watch somebody do it, I can kind of probably figure it out.
For me, it's less, capitalistic, the American dream. No, it's not about being able to do anything, because that's not true. You cannot blame people for not, succeeding in what they want and telling them, hey, you can do anything. It's overcoming, fear of failure. It's overcoming insecurities, And this is what I mean, that I can do whatever I want. It's like doing it without staying in my comfort zone and somehow, co-piloting, with my insecurity. Yeah. So this is what I learned in 4 years, going back to your questions, like what did 4 years of engineering do to me? This is what it did. I discovered that it's not about being safe. It's not about feeling comfortable. It's not about enjoying not feeling comfortable. It's still being terrified, when you do new things. But it's like, driving with my dad. I drive and my dad goes like, why are you doing this? Go to the left, go to the right. And in time, I learned that, okay, my dad is my insecurity in this case. It's like, okay, he's there, but I'm driving the car, so it's not him. And he can talk, just like my insecurity can go like, again, oh, I'm going to fail. And I think, the restaurant was really, really an important phase in my life, where I had plenty of time to really think about it. And also the support I had from my family. Imagine, you're Arab, Palestinian family. I'm the first engineer ever that comes out of my family, the first person from Jaffa to study in the Technion. I was like, I became the star that everybody was proud of. And then I'm a waiter and a cook, you know. And learning how to feel comfortable with this, I think, changed my life.
It's funny because it's very, like, you mentioned surfing. This is very, this whole philosophy is like very natural in the world of surfing and skating and this type of thing, where, and in music, it's just like doing something doesn't mean successfully landing the trick.
Yes.
Doing something means actually just doing it. Failure and success are actually irrelevant. You're supposed to just be in the act of doing it and expressing yourself, your intentions. And if you land the trick, you land the trick. If you don't land it, doesn't matter.
It's expressing a commitment. I don't skate. My two little brothers, they're also very good skaters. I only surf, and it's committing to a wave. Because right, there's like a series of waves. They comes in series, like we call it an attack. Different people call it. And then you have to commit to one of them. It's almost random. You have your theories. It's like it's always the second. You say, some people say it's always the one before the last. It's never the first. But this is it. You commit to it, and with it, you just have to enjoy it as much as possible. Not thinking about, maybe I should have waited to the next one, or maybe I should have taken the one before.
Yeah. The community that you're talking about, that's like so proud of you or disappointed in you or confounded by you, is that community your like direct family? Is that community Ajami? Is it Jaffa? Is it Palestine? Who is that community?
Yeah. I mean, it's, it starts with the family, and then what the family, the support that you get with the family empowers you to almost demand this support from others. Because if you're comfortable, and this was the case with my parents, like, in the beginning it was like, what, you're applying for jobs? I said, like, maybe. And then no, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Cool. They never asked me what I want to do. There's like, good. I mean, I started working, and I was able to pay rent and stuff like this. And then I did a short, and then, And then I dragged my two other brothers, Ziris and Tony, who were also engineers. And Ziris with an MBA, and he worked in the industry for years. And they are my producers now.
Yeah.
With everything I've been doing, since my first short.
So let's talk a little bit. I actually want to ask you about this first short because I haven't seen it. So tell me a little about it.
The first short
Before Ajami, the one that sort of like you were working on when you were in the kitchen that you thought like, type, okay, this is a what is it?
I'll send it to you. It's
Can we include it into the comments?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
sure.
so
It's on YouTube. It's my best friend Rabi Bukhari, who's an incredible musician, also did music for Ajami, also did music, some of the tracks for Happy Holidays. He's into electronic. And we just borrowed the camera from a school in Jaffa, and we went out and we pretended some kind of a tour guides, and we reclaimed, history. Basically, what we did there is that we told nonsense. We told stories that are, really BS. That it looks like they're invented intentionally about a few locations in Jaffa that nobody knows why they're there. There are a lot of myths about
It's
them.
called The Truth?
It's called The Truth, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to screen a little bit of it. So tell us about these imagined places.
But this happened as a reaction to Janine, Muhammad Bakri, the film that was released, and then it was censored. And there was this discussion, very, I would say, fake, elitistic discussion about, accepting and whatever. And we did this film specifically for the Tel Aviv Cinematheque, where like mostly Israelis watched it. And they uploaded us, it's like, oh yeah, we're talking about the fluid concept of truth. But then we dedicated it to the people that lost their life in the massacre of Jenin. So it was also censored. So basically we embarrassed our audiences, and that was the intention from the get-go. And it did a lot of, noise, basically, this film by being censored.
في فرق كبير بين الحقيقة والواقع. زي ما قلت لك كل شيء انت هلا تعال قوله، تعال اعرضه كحقيقة، بيكون حقيقة بالنسبة لإلك وبالنسبة للناس اللي بدهم يصدقوا انه هي الحقيقة. بس بالنسبة لغير بني آدم اللي حقيقته غير عن حقيقتك بقدر اقول لك هذا بولشيت. هذا خزعبلات. فاهم كيف؟ الطمع اقول لك بالاول ما كانش يعني هذا اللي انت شايفه، هذا الضل من المصنع اللي كان هنا، هذا كله الطمام اجوا لما اجوا الروس بعد النكبه، يعني جابوا معهم الرمل هون من روسيا. ليش بقولوا بيطلع فيه يعني عشبة الفودكا؟ معروف، اسال حالة يفاوي بقول لك الرمل الروسي بيطلع فيه عشبة الفودكا. وزي ما انا سمعت كمان زرعوا اربع اصناف فودكا، في اصغر واصغر واصغر واصغر، ومن المنطقة يعني بتمد، يعني الحقل تبعهم بمد من اخرية شط الجبلية لاولية مينا يافا يعني. بالذات بالمنطقة هاي يعني هنا بنوا مصنعهم، كل واحد سمع عليه، هذا مصنع دونولو ألف. الدونولو اسم الفودكا معروف بيافا، كان في كان اشيين، كان بيرا ناشر وفودكا دونولو. هذا جزء من المصنع، هذا بيقولوا له ديستربيوتر. ايش يعني بيفرق. هذا شايف عنده هنا خمس خزوق، من خزق واحد بيطلع الكحول، من 4 خزوق بيطلع الشجرة هاي الصغيرة تبعت الفودكا، وتحت زي ميكسر هيك، واحد روسي كان يعمل هيك ويتلخبط ويصبوه بأناني بعدين.
When you made this, you're just a bunch of friends, a couple friends having fun.
Yeah. I mean, we improvised the whole thing, but we knew where we're heading. We're just gonna go to those 5 locations that we chose beforehand.
Yeah.
And just invented those ridiculous stories, and it escalated. It becomes more and more political, towards the end, hinting, even here, just throwing out a word, nakbe, whatever, which is not something, that was, I was telling some was allowed or they didn't know if they need to ban it. But I was telling someone yesterday, actually, or 2 days ago, that when we were kids, Marcel Khalifa was banned, basically. And I don't know if you did it as a kid, but you would copy cassettes,
Yeah.
right? She was like, put it on the left one. Yeah. And then, someone from my family said, what are you doing this, man? Because they're going to trace it back to you and you distribute, and it's music, right? because he's singing Darwish. So back then this was like, nobody spoke about those things, 2002. Yeah.
So it's funny, like political speech needs an audience. Political speech can't just exist. There needs to be an audience. And in this case, like, is the audience, the intended audience, in your mind at least, even if it's a fun little small project, are you in your mind's eye imagining these sort of like liberal Israelis who would go to an independent film festival and then they want to say that they care? Is that who you're imagining?
Yes, absolutely. In this specific case, yes. I mean, it was for those liberals, but to an extent, when you start having a voice, they shut down. And this is what we wanted to do. I mean, we wanted to expose this. We wanted to speak their languages. You will watch the film. It's like we're cool kids, making music together. There's like this weird tension between us that we designed and whatever. And then it leads to, exposing this hypocrisy, So this is dedicated to the massacre of Jenin. Yeah. So yes, of course, everything I do, and this is actually how I teach script writing. I work with what I call the target audience. It's not the industry definition of target audience. It's like, who are you writing this film for? And it could be one person. It could be your mother, because you realize that the source of your, suffering in this world is your mom, and you wanna, provoke some thought in her.
Yeah.
So it's easier to work this way, for me at least.
Yeah. Sometimes a phone call is easier than the script.
Yeah, not for me.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to go through the whole script. I wrote the 7-piece orchestral movement. I made the film. So for something like this, I'm curious what it feels like for you to actually go back in time and watch this. And like, are those simpler times in your mind? Does it rhyme with where we are in 2025? Are you like, man, something's never changed? Or like, how does it feel?
Funnily, 2 weeks ago, I did a pre-premiere of Happy Holidays for cast and crew, and Rabia was there. And Rabia showed the film to his kids, and his daughter actually asked him, like, what are those places? Where are they? All the places we documented, they no longer exist. This junkyard, this tamam, we call it, it's basically they started demolishing our neighborhood and other Palestinian neighborhoods. And all, the debris from the houses, they throw them on the sea. So basically they destroyed a beach, but also just like made a junkyard in the middle of our neighborhood, of the houses that were demolished. It is now a park without anything that has to do with Jaffa. Not a single orange tree. Not even toilets, so that people won't stay long there. It's not allowed to barbecue, and this is our culture, us. We barbecue and we do shisha afterwards. So it looks like an alien park in the middle of Ajami on the beach. And we documented it when it was like being the stamam. And also in Ajami I shot there. It was towards the end of it, transforming it into a park. And so, and many other places that we documented. So I think going back to your question, I think back then, I'm talking about myself, I still had hopes, that that our situation, Palestinians in 48 and Palestinians in general, will be resolved through, logic, reasoning, logic, and there's right and there's wrong, and there's justice and there's injustice. And people, now are full of hatred, the Israelis and whatever. At the end of the day, it's just like the rational thing to do, right? It's logical. And now, nothing is logical. People they're bombing hospitals, they're bombing journalists. a minute after they finish an interview because it annoyed them, and with this impunity and with I don't know, it's just like irrational what's happening. So I think this is, you said back then it was much more hopeful. I think a film like this will not be able to be made now. People back home, they were arrested for posting a shakshuka with the V sign in Zabtat. Yeah, I made it. This girl, she was, she cannot go to university for 6 years. She was like 18, so she has to wait 6 years to go back to university, and she spent like, I don't know, a few months in house arrest. So it's yeah.
Do you feel like, this maybe sounds like a weird question, but do you feel like people even like me, okay, I'll put myself on the as the example, do you think that somebody like me actually can even understand what it's like being a Palestinian, living every day influenced by and affected by Israeli oppression?
I don't know. Yeah, sometimes you have to live it. We Palestinians, whether in the West Bank or in Gaza or inside the Green Line, and I think it has to do with what we went through. We just normalize everything. It doesn't seem weird. When you see it on your Instagram feed. It's just, it doesn't seem weird that you can't do certain things, that you live. You have to accept it. I think it has to do with human nature. You cannot just live your life not accepting your reality. You'll die, I don't know, out of depression. So people wait in checkpoints. And from the outside, you might see this like, why are you not shouting, saying something? But it has a lot of consequences. You shout, you're gonna end up in jail, and you're basically just going to work. So in your head, you have to find, some kind of a reason for it, and you normalize it. The same, in my childhood, not being able to speak Arabic, in a bus, because it's dangerous. So you don't think about it. You just don't think about it. It becomes who you are. It becomes so even us, we don't know how it really feels, how oppression really feels. Really, we just like and you find excuses and reasons to convince yourself that it could be worse, right? Always, in any situation.
Yeah, and it's like, it's crazy to hear you say that, because your film, I mean, Happy Holidays at least, like, explores this idea of moral ambiguity. I want to talk about Ajami, and then I want to get to Happy Holidays. I want to play the trailer for Ajami for a second, and then I want to talk a little bit about what it felt to get there.
יכול להיות. למה הוא בא לפה? לא יודע, יכול להיות שהוא חזר בתשובה והוא לא רוצה שנדע, יכול להיות הרבה דברים. שלום. איפה? פה, מה זה פה? ניש. נכון? ובדמוסיק. ועוד פעם. We ain't not different. Say
basic question. What do you think people most misunderstood about the film? Of the people who said that they liked it, the many thousands of people around the world who said that they loved it.
Yeah, what they misunderstood, I didn't question, I didn't ask a lot of people, but I think that some missed the point of, the idea of being self-critical. When you expose things and you show them, it's not for the fun of it. It's just like seeing them somehow, from a distance. It's a film. It's not real people, and then you can reflect on it. And I'm sure that some people miss this thing. It's like they saw it as a crime drama, cool people shooting at each other, and I'm sure this happened, obviously, and I'm sure that people. Many people were angry with the film. I was in the screening. The older generation, it goes like, we have our problems, we need to resolve them. There's no sense in documenting them. So but we've been having our problems for years, and we're just like only in Ajami I can count now quickly, like 25, 30 people that I know, including one classmate that were murdered, including a cousin, right? So it's like, when do we start talking about it? When do we start exposing it? When do we start doing it without blaming? We're just like, in a way that is, full of empathy and understanding, even towards, those criminals. Like, we're in this for reasons, but we have also responsibility.
Yeah. Who were you making the film for? Since audience is like the first thing you think of.
I was making it basically for us, for the people of Ajami in general, but also for all those people that think that we should have those divisions within us. Christians, Muslims, rich, poor, Bedouins, and so on. So it's mainly for us.
Yeah. Do you like Do the Right Thing?
I haven't watched. Yeah,
Min Zaman. It has Do the Right Thing energy in my.
Yes. Yeah, I say that back then, I wanted to make films. I wanted to make a film, in Ajami, based on good things I was inspired by, like cinema, the Scorsese cinema, when I went out of, Pulp Fiction, I just like went out, went to the toilet, got another ticket and watched it again. So watched it like twice in a row. Yeah. And I wanted to make films like this, I wanted to make film that had this energy. But then, with the age, I find myself only working on films about things that, I hate, not I like. Like in Happy Holiday, it's not happy things or positive things that I was inspired by. It's actually the opposite, right? So I think it has to do with the age, because Ajami, I was really into like the cinema, and now I couldn't care less about cinema, really, and aesthetics and form, and it's just like, and you see it if you watched Happy Holidays and if you watched Ajami, you see the difference. It's like Happy Holidays, it's so raw, realistic. I'm not saying that Ajami is not, but it's like it's dealing only with people, nothing beyond that.
Was it Ajami? You feel like it was you sort of wearing a costume, trying to put on?
I was trying to be a filmmaker. Now I say I'm a filmmaker. Yeah. Now I say I'm a non-professional filmmaker working with non-professional actors. Filmmaking is not part of what I want to be, my identity or my career. And I think this helped a lot with, getting rid of, again, we spoke about it a little bit, of trying to prove something, trying to succeed, whatever success means. It's just like, I do those films because I care about things. And, for me, I didn't think I was done with Happy Holidays until, I spoke with the actors after they watched it and said, like, what did your parents say about it? And only then I felt like, okay, that's it. Now I can let go.
Yeah.
I'm done with the film. So it's not only, it's not only this. It's really like, I don't know. If I was a person that could talk better or give speeches or convince people or a preacher or something, I would be doing the same.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about how you made Ajami, and then I want to get to Happy Holidays. So you finish the short. Your friend says to you, "Yalla, let's make a film." You say, "I'm not a filmmaker."
Yes.
And he says, "No. You are. You made that film." Walk me through the entire process, getting you all the way to the point where it's nominated for an Oscar.
So we screened this film in a festival for students that Yaron was running. He was a student at Tel Aviv University, and then we spoke a little bit after this, and he was like, "What is this? This is like crazy what you've done here," and he got it. It's like he understood what Rabia and I were trying to do. And then we stayed in touch, and then I remember this day I was in the bar. They had like a round bar outside on the cliff in the restaurant, and he comes with like a folder, and he goes, "Hey," I say, "What are you doing here?" It's like, "Here's something I've written about homeless kids, just take a read into it." And I read it, and I go like, "Yeah, but who are those homeless kids?" It's like, what is this? Where does this take place? You say Tel Aviv, but it's not realistic. And then we started talking, and he had this idea of finishing a film in one location, like bringing different stories in one location. And then we spent, I think, 3.5 years or 4 years writing this, But in fact, it was adapting real stories that took place,
And you were in the kitchen the entire time.
Yes, but I was working shifts, obviously. We would start every day in this very specific place. It's called Abu Hassan. He serves only hummus, ful, msabbaha, and labani. That's it. This is what they have. It's very, very known. Also, it's one of the most famous places. It's not really in Jaffa. And then we just start taking a walk and talking, telling stories, figuring out how things will connect, and then we'll go write, share it, talk about it. But it was more about trying to understand how we want to do it, because obviously as Israeli and Palestinian, each brings his own perspective on things, which is like, you see it's very far away from each other. And we really started looking into, and we liked the same films, and we really started looking into releasing it to the people of Ajami, basically.
Yeah.
To work with friends or just people that we know, that we gather, to never give them a script, to just have the whole film improvised, shooting it chronologically with 2 cameras. Obviously, for a first film, it was a nightmare for our producers to accept it. We were nobodies, our first film, both of us, but we worked really, really hard. I mean, at some point, I started cooking, at night, because there wasn't, we didn't have time. He was giving math lessons to kids in high school, and I was cooking, and it worked out eventually.
It's 2025. A few months ago, a film that's made by Israelis and Palestinians, No Other Land, won the Oscar. And there's huge outrage and outrage from Zionists, from anti-Zionists, from so many people, right, about the film. And I'm so interested in asking you about this question. What is the power dynamics like when a Palestinian and an Israeli choose to make a film together?
I mean, you have to set it. You have to set the power dynamic. I'll give you an example. So I thought I communicated this to Yaron, but then we went to this, fantastic graphic designer just to design, the film, to design the credits and whatever. And then he's done a really good job. He was very proud of it. And I said, wait a second, Arabic is on the right. and then later Hebrew. He goes, yeah, but it's nicer. I said, no. There's a clear hierarchy in things, including the language. So Arabic on top, Hebrew below, Arabic on the right, Hebrew on the left. So you have to set it, and then this becomes, the power dynamics between people, and you have to talk about it. Obviously, it's not a clash.
Do you have the power to set it?
Yes, sometimes, yes. If you don't, you shouldn't get involved, in a project like this. Obviously, you're limited as an artist regardless of, who you work with, even, I don't know, two American white artists, it doesn't matter. There is a certain power dynamics that comes from your personality. Some people demand more, some people insist more, others agree more. It has to do with how this power dynamics is set, over time, right?
Yeah.
So it has to do with this. But, in terms of No Other Land, they also, they work together in the same newspaper. I mean, it's a website newspaper. A lot of people got angry because for many different reasons, and I don't judge anyone. What I felt bad about is this. I'm talking about only the Palestinian side because I'm not, I don't have high expectations from Zionist or even, leftist Zionist liberals. I was really saddened to see not a lot, but this elitism that, with which people preached and talked how wrong it is to do a film with an Israeli, and I think it has to do with those colonial structures that we live by, and we inherited them, and they become our tool, to argue things or to fight for what we believe in. And this saddens me, this whole almost like not a dictatorship, because it's like self-proclaimed leaders that says no, this is wrong, this is khayin, this is and I think most of the problems that we suffered from as Arabs is because of this, because of those divisions of he's a religious and he's a kafir, he's a watani, he's a khayin. Look at what happened in Egypt, with Abdel Nasser, that had this elitism, the consequences is the destruction of the Arab world. I mean, with a lot of other things, but belittling, Muslims in Egypt. I don't know if you remember his speeches, the way he spoke about women with hijab like animals. This is what I felt now.
Mm-hmm. It's you think it's elitist because those with more power and wealth have the luxury of being able to say no to these types of things and the luxury of being able to judge?
I think, I don't want to name people, but I think it has to do with personal insecurities. Trying to prove something. You're outspoken about something, but and it's totally fine, I have nothing against this, but you went to an Israeli university. You did your bachelor's and your master's in an Israeli university. Your professors were Israelis, most probably. And then you feel bad about it, and then, you want to prove something to others. These are at least the people that I've read on social media. But I'm not judging, here, and I don't think it's a healthy way. And I think we should remember why are we here for? Even No Other Land. Why did they gather, to do this film? Why? To get an Oscar or to expose something that people never knew it existed? I heard that a lot of people were angry because they thought that if there weren't an Israeli filmmaker, they wouldn't get the Oscar. So, yeah, I mean, it has to do with the importance that people give to this kind of success. I'm not interested in this. I'm really not interested in this. I'm not interested in this, assessment of success.
Yeah. What was it like, since you're not interested in it, what was it like actually going to the Oscars, though, in 2010? And 2010, to take people back to that moment, there's an insane amount of anti-Arab energy, anti-Palestinian energy in the States. It's in the middle of the war on terror. This is a moment similar to right now, different, obviously very different. What was it like being there?
I don't know. It's like it was weird.
Definitely not many Arabs have been to that room, and definitely not many Palestinians have been to that room.
A few Palestinians, yes.
That's not many.
But not many. I don't know. It's like it's a show.
Yeah.
Like in theater, you have this assistant director that takes you to places with this Madonna. It's like, go here. That was it. We didn't have control over nothing. You wake up, you have breakfast, you have interviews. They take you to places, you don't know where you're going. So you don't feel, the only time I felt nice was, after the ceremony started, someone said, you can leave if you want, but we will call you. So I became friends with Taha Rahim and Jaco Diar, and I said, like, shall we go and have drinks? And I said, yeah. So that was a beautiful moment. We spoke a lot. And I'll tell you a funny story. So I said, like, champagne. They go like, yes, champagne. I go to the bar. I was like, 3 champagne, please. Give me 3 champagne. And the guy tells me, like, I don't know, I can't remember, let's say $50. And I go like, yeah. And he goes, no, you pay now for the champagne. In the reception, it was for free. Now it's you pay for it. It's like, and I paid, and I go back. It's like, can you believe it? This is like, I had to pay for this.
Nothing's free, Habibi. Nothing's free.
So that was nice, and we stayed in touch for, I don't know, a few years, and then I lost touch with Tahar, and then that's it. That was over. We knew already somehow who's going to win. We were happy for him. He was a really cool guy, this Argentinian director. They don't tell you, but there's a dinner before, and they say whoever sits next to the CEO of Sony Classics is probably the one that is.
Oh, interesting. It's like choosing the wave. Don't choose the first one. It's the one next to the first one.
So yeah, it was
So interesting. Okay, so 15 years later, you make Happy Holidays.
Yeah, but you know what happened in the Oscars. It's not that it was done, and that's it. We forgot about it. So in the Oscars, there's this Israeli reporter tells me, like, how does it feel to be how did he put it? To be on the Israeli national team. This is how he put it in Hebrew. I said, I'm not on the Israeli national team. He says, how come? This is an Israeli film, because we received funding. And I said, yeah, but I am Palestinian, and I cannot represent a country that doesn't represent me. It's a technical thing that we were nominated as an Israeli film because of fundings, which is very, very technical. But the film has mostly Palestinians and some Israelis, and I'm not here to. And death threats, death letters to my parents. It was on the news every 10, 15 minutes, basically, like, this guy that we get, and it exposed it. It exposed everything. This guy that we gave him everything. He's spitting in the plate that is feeding his mouth, in the hand that is feeding him. So, and I think it was good that this happened, because I couldn't take it anymore. This hypocrisy that went on. They almost used it like, here, people can work together.
Yeah. Did you feel backlash from your community in Ajami and your community in Jaffa? And no, شو عم تعمل? What are you doing? Or everyone knows the reality that you're living with.
No, I went. I remember, because when, after we finished Ajami, even before it was released, I started working for what is now the Doha Film Institute. So before the film was released, after Cannes, They did this interview with me in Al Jazeera, and then I said, like, listen, we have this project. You want to come and help? I said, yeah, why not, you know. So I wasn't there. But then I came back for, I think, Christmas, and there was a protest, a demonstration against house demolition. It was in Jabaliya Mosque, which is like 1 meter away from my family. And I remember this. I was received, it was like a few months, no, it was it was Easter. So it was like April, like 2 months after the Oscars, or a month and a half. And I was received like as a hero. You know, people like were like kissing me, and this politician that, you know, I didn't have a lot of respect for him, and he goes like, you have balls. I don't. He told me, he whispered in my, he gave me a kiss, and he goes like, I wish I had the balls that you have. And this is a guy that, you know, is a politician, but he's like a little bit, you know. So people wanted, you know, to hear this. People wanted someone to say what they felt. But people go to work the next day, you know. Imagine now the situation, you know, all my family, all my brothers, they have to, and everybody, all the Palestinians, they have to go to work and pretend that everything's okay.
Yeah.
They cannot even, you know, I post stuff, and it's the only source for my friends back home, because I'm a private account, and they cannot, you know, they cannot even, you know, like or look at, you know, news from Gaza. They cannot. They could be arrested.
For looking.
Yes, for looking, for commenting, for liking, for whatever. It's, and then they have to go to work and pretend that, yeah, good morning, you know. And Israel might ask them, so what do you think? Oh, we want peace, you know. And this, you know, this kills your soul. You know it, because this is not what you're feeling. But you have to feed your kids, and you have other things to worry about.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a good place to move to Happy Holidays, because so much of, I heard you talk about Happy Holidays where you were talking about this exact idea of internalized oppression. Yeah. So maybe give us just like a big picture, one sentence description of what you think Happy Holidays is about.
It's about a lot of things, but it's, yeah, you said it's internalizing, you know, different forms of oppression. But it's a true story about, I think, the ownership of female body.
Okay, so I mean, if you were, let's go back. This premiered at the Venice Film Festival. Okay. I'm sure at some point you had to send them a sort of a two sentence description or 3 sentence description. What's the 3 sentence description of Happy Holidays?
I don't know. It was done by ChatGPT probably, but I can look it up. I'm really bad. I'm really bad in doing those things, and yes, I actually did it with ChatGPT. I'm not, you know, everybody uses
no judgment, no judgment.
Everybody uses Chat. Because I was, you know, I don't know, I can open it up and try to read it for you.
No.
But it's, for me, you know, for me, it's very, very difficult to really define it with like a log line.
Yeah.
Because you watched the film, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but in a way, it's this idea of, you said it in the beginning, I think, morality, and moral superiority, and in some cases supremacy. You know, how do we make decisions?
Yeah.
And the decisions are always made with us thinking that we are morally, you know, just, basically, because there's no other way to explain it. And I think the film talks mostly about this.
Yeah. Do you remember the famous, I don't know if you remember this, but there's a very famous Bill Clinton line where he says it's the economy stupid. Have you ever heard that sentence?
The economy stupid?
It's the economy stupid. It's like, this is one of his, like, when he won the election against Bush.
Yeah.
One of his things was like, the reason why things are so bad, it's the economy, stupid, like, obviously.
Yes.
And I feel like that's been turned into a meme where it's like, it's the patriarchy, stupid.
Yeah.
Like, and no, that's, بالآخر, this is what's going on. And I feel like Happy Holidays is about that. It's like, it's the patriarchy, obviously. And
yes, it is.
why did you want to make a film about that?
I mean, my process is very, very simple. I start with what I call an annoyance, something that annoys me, drives me crazy, but I don't know why it's happening. And it could be like, I've done a lot of visual arts projects also. It's like it annoyed me one time that women are allowed to smoke shisha but not cigarettes. It's like I couldn't get it, and I started investigating into this. And then from this annoyance, I tried to link it to, my own suffering. It's like, what does it have to, why do I care about this? Well, we care about things that affect us negatively, right? So I started digging into my own life and tried to figure out what is, the essence of the suffering, but then the reasons for it. And I think I'm a really big believer in this whole idea of or definition of liberation. What is really liberation? What is really being free? And I have a lot of definitions. For me, freedom and liberation has to do with what you can accept. So you limit your own freedom by what you cannot accept. Okay, so this is how it works, and not the other way around.
Say that again. You limit your own freedom by what you don't accept.
Yes. I mean, you're less free if you don't accept things, whatever they are, right?
Yeah.
So freedom is not, something that could be done for you. You have to do it also for yourself. And
simultaneously.
Yes, simultaneously, obviously. So you cannot be free from only a specific form of oppression. It won't work, right? And we saw it historically. It's like, okay, there's a lot of coup d'etats that wanted to get to be liberated from, like a dictatorship. And what happened later on? The people that led the revolution became in time the dictators, right? So it has to do with understanding that in order to be free, you have to be free from everything, everything that oppresses you. And actually, this is Happy Holidays, the ending. I don't want to give it away, but this is what happens there. She walks away from two things, from what we hear, what we all live. I don't know if you get it there, because you don't, this whole siren thing, which is imposed, and from her man, right? From the man, basically. So I started this process basically of the film with this understanding, and I chose two main things, like political liberation and being liberated from the patriarch, basically.
Yeah.
And understanding that, and with the understanding that people have internalized those forms of oppression, and they normalize them, and they make sense to them. And this is why we see the two mothers in the film, that are basically the oppressors.
Yeah. How is the film? I think you started working on this film before COVID, right?
Yeah.
How did the purpose of the film and the sort of the melody of the film sit when the chords of the world changed after October 7th?
I think in a way it explains a lot of things, for me at least. When you watch the film and you see how kids as young as 4 years old are indoctrinated, and become already soldiers at this age. There's the scene where they write letters, and it becomes their source of pride. You understand? You understand how people can butcher and kill and drop bombs on little babies. And I think this is a reflection that Israelis have to do. They have to think about it. is this the right way, you know? And this is, and the film is also made for them, you know. They are part of our life, you know. And I don't know if it's our duty, but it's, for me, it's very important to show them that they also need to think about what they're doing.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, for me, it's, for all of us, I think, for all Palestinians, I think it was a surprise, you know, the way they, you know, all the genocide, and, you know, the only surprise for me was this sense of impunity. You know, they talk about it and nobody does nothing with it. But the rest, we've seen it, you know, not to this extent, not like, I don't know, 100,000 people, I don't know how many now, but we've seen it. We've seen it in all the attacks on Gaza, on the West Bank. We've seen it before. What have changed now is the, you know, the political powers in the world that allow it to go on.
Yeah. Where can people watch this?
I mean, it's still touring festivals. So next week's going to be in Bari, Milano, and then the Arab Festival in Zurich, and then in Berlin, in El Film, which is also an Arab film festival, but also Istanbul Film Festival, and right now it's in Uruguay. This is like, it's around the world. It's going to be released in France and Italy, almost back to back. I mean, Italy, we have a France, we have a specific date, is July 16th. Italy, it's probably a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Luxembourg, Belgium, and Germany, we still don't have dates. And the US is going to be released in the fall, they said.
Okay, one more thing before we go. I'm curious, so Happy Holidays, when somebody watches it, they're like, okay, this is great, script, actors, perfect. But it's unique. I mean, maybe not unique, but it's maybe surprising how you cast it and the entire process. So tell us a little bit about it and why.
So all the actors were basically chosen based on their profession in real life. So Walid is a real doctor, and Mirish is a real nurse, and so on and so on. And also based on their similar characteristics or personality to the characters I've written. So the way I work is, you know, I ask people to join me on workshops. You know, I need doctors, I had 30 doctors. I need nurses, I had like 60 nurses. And then I start working with them, teaching them how to improvise on, you know, any situation. And from those improvisations, I start choosing the people that I want to work with. So let's say I choose the people that will be Karam family, the Palestinian family, and I rent, you know, the villa beforehand, and they start basically, I start building with them their histories and relationships prior to the film. So they don't really live there, but they come a lot, and it starts, you know, simple cooking, and everything is filmed, right? Cooking, and then I start introducing small conflicts that create, you know, the tensions between the family members. And then when we shoot, we shoot chronologically, which usually doesn't happen. I never give them a screenplay; they don't know what the story is about, obviously. Yeah. And it's all improvised, shot in 2 cameras, no film lights, not even a boom. Everybody's mic, a very tiny set of, you know, 10 people moving quickly from one location to the other, and then I end up with, you know, 200 hours of footage that I have to edit. And this whole method, which has a name, just because I teach it here at NYU, it's called singular drama. It is based on our ability, it's an innate ability that we have, human beings, to respond with real emotions to fiction, right? So stress is, you know, one thing that proves this, but also watching a film. You watch a film, you know, cognitively that these are actors, that this person didn't really die, that this is not real blood. You're still terrified, you're afraid, you laugh, you cry, and so on. Yeah. And this is what I create between people. So they know here that they're not a couple, but they get hurt when, you know, they separate. They know that she's not her mom, and she could say, like, at any moment, you know, what is this? You know, what is this? It's not real. but we allow ourselves. And there are a lot of theories and reasons what really happens in this, like, in this situation where you allow yourself to live a moment that is not real, but it works.
It's like therapists who try to get you over your fear of flying by you simulating that process.
Yes. But here is not really simulating, it's like living it, right?
Yeah.
Because when you watch a film, you live the film. You're really engaged in it. All you need to do is to figure out a way to forget the rest of the world. And that's the work I do with them, in the workshops. Like, now they're present in this moment, which is fiction, it's not real, but their body will react to it as if it was real.
Do you feel like that methodology could be implemented at scale for like some peace and reconciliation? Obviously, there's a million things that would have to happen, but is that like a blueprint for some peace and reconciliation movement to rehabilitate? Maybe,
as a kid, I'll tell you, my mom, she was doing parenting, therapy and group therapy, and mostly for parents. And one of the methods she used were role plays. So basically, and I was doing it because I really liked acting. So basically, she would bring me to act the son when the real family is watching us.
Mm-hmm.
So they will tell her, what happened. And she will bring us, like me, sometimes my brother, random people, like two parents that have nothing to do with the real parents. And it was filmed, actually. And then they watch it and they analyze it, but they talk, almost like objectively about those people, which stopped being them, but it's them. So it worked, for my mother, and it's very known in the world. It's called the Adler method.
Technique.
Yes. So it's this is what it's still, it's
so you're telling me your mom employed the exact same filmmaking technique that you're doing to help her process her own issues.
I mean, my first attempt into acting was this. Like, my mom would, like, you like acting? Come. What? I don't want to memorize. Like, no, I'll tell you a story, and just like improvise on it. Maybe
the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree.
Yeah, but maybe through I think and it's not, I didn't invent it, but I see it, in the way I work. The camera or the stage or the time that you give someone, empowers them a lot. So the camera, empowers people. In reality, they wouldn't talk this way to, let's say, their parents. But because there's a camera, they become, funnily, their true selves. When in reality, they are their fake selves. Because there are a lot of considerations and power dynamics and hierarchies and culture and stuff. And only in the camera, they become their true self.
Yeah. This is like the Jim Carrey. Have you heard Jim Carrey talk about this?
No.
Jim Carrey talks about this a lot, where he's saying, Jim Carrey is one of my many characters. I am nothing. I'm none of these. We are none of these things. We are like some soul and energy. But this is one of the characters that I have been playing. And I sometimes play a different one between action and cut. But I never am not playing a character. This is the one that you think of when you think of Jim Carrey. But I'm also The Mask, I'm also Ace Ventura, I'm also Grinch, I'm also all these different characters.
Yes.
Amazing. Scandar, thanks so much.
Thank you.